Ants that live in a colony that is ruled by a queen. Have you ever heard the saying, "You are what you eat"? Well, this is especially true with ants. Any female ant larva can become a queen if it is fed the proper diet. Most ant larvae are not fed that diet, however, so they do not become queens. If the larva is fed the proper diet, she will emerge from the pupa stage with wings. Larvae that are not fed the royal diet will come out of the pupa stage without wings, which means they cannot make eggs or produce young. Male ants, on the other hand, usually have wings when they emerge from the pupa stage and are ready to mate. They are called drones. So these are alates, and they can be male or female. And when they mate, they swarm. And to swarm, they all come out of the anthill all at once, and they fly around, and they find a male or female to mate with, males and females together. So a new queen will build a new colony, and she'll start to build her anthill. She tunnels into the earth, or whatever she prefers to tunnel into, and builds a little room where she can lay her first eggs. These are not the only young she will ever have to care for, because when they are adults, her children will do all the work. Sorry, these are the only young. The queen feeds this little brood with her own saliva. After a few days, the eggs hatch into little worm-like larvae called grubs. They are white, and they can't move or feed themselves. So who feeds them? Well, they're dependent on adult ants to care for them. They are constantly fed and will molt and grow several times. Then each larva will form a pupa, which often looks like an ant's egg, but it's much bigger. If you happen to open an anthill and see the little ants scurrying about, carrying off what look like ant eggs, they're probably carrying ant pupa, and they're trying to save the pupa. The first group of eggs laid by the queen will all hatch worker ants. These are female ants that don't have wings and cannot mate. They will begin looking for food immediately. The queen will lay more eggs, and from that point on, that's all she will do. The eggs, larva, pupa, and queen will be all cared for by the workers. The queen ant will live like that for several years, but worker ants typically live for somewhere between a few months to 5 years. When the colony begins, the queen will produce only worker ants. Each worker begins its adult life with the safest job, caring for the eggs, grubs, pupa, or the queen. As they get older, they are given a harder job of making tunnels and keeping the nest clean by taking out the trash. Finally, when they are much older, they are sent out to look for food, the most dangerous job of all. And as the colony grows, that queen will lay eggs that produce male ants, drones, and the workers will create more queens by feeding the grubs with the diet necessary to produce queens. When these alates become adults, they will swarm and start the process all over again. The worker ants have several specific jobs. Interior workers tend to the queen and the brood, the eggs, larvae, and pupa. These servants move the eggs, larvae, and pupa all over the nest, finding just the right amount of warmth and moisture for them. They feed the larvae regurgitated food that they stored in an organ called the crop. These workers also help open the pupa when they are ready to emerge as adults. The nest maintenance workers help build the nest. It might be 20 feet deep. These workers make the tunnels called galleries and rooms called chambers where everything is kept. Scouts are single ants that go out and look for food. When the food is found, they leave a scented trail from the food back to the anthill and tell the foragers to follow the trail. Once a scout tells the foragers about food, they march out and follow the scent the scout left behind. And of course, the anthill has to take out the trash, and they have trash guys. And these are called midden ants. They take out all the waste, the feces and leftover foods and parts of dead ants out of the hill, and they put it in a heap, a pile called the midden. So they're the midden ants. Although all ants will defend the colony from attack, there are some special fighting ants whose only job is to fight other ants. while other ants are busy keeping everything nice and clean and everyone well fed. These ants are busy watching out for the enemy. Who's the enemy? Usually an ant from another colony is the enemy. You see ants like to find weaker ant colonies and destroy them. Because of this, ants are always on the lookout for attacks from other ants. They're also looking for other ant colonies to attack. If a foreign ant comes too close to an ant colony, it will be attacked. When this happens, the ant will release an alarm pheromone. Remember the pheromones, the chemicals they can smell that tell a message, and all of the ants will come to defend the colony. They have several ways to defend and fight other ants. They have sharp-toothed, biting mandibles. Some South American ant mouths are so strong they can even slice into the skin of animals. Ants also produce formic acid in special glands, and the spray of the formic acid can irritate or blind other insects. They spray the acid before and after they bite. This is part of what makes an ant bite so painful. Ants can talk to each other with their pheromones, so their pheromone message might be, there's food on the trail behind me, or danger, or run away, or attack. So they can talk to each other by recognizing the different scent that the other ant released. Most ants eat other insects, and some also eat seeds and fruits, but almost all ants like sweet stuff. Many drink flower nectar, for example. Interestingly enough, ants can only swallow liquids. They cannot eat solids. When they eat another insect, they swallow the liquids inside the insect, and they don't eat the solid parts. If they find solid food, they cut it up into small pieces and take it back to the anthill. Now, Noah has talked about how they can be shepherds and farmers because they actually keep aphids to drink the milk of the aphids. So aphids are small insects that feed on the sap of the newly sprouted stems, leaves, and flowers. So eating the sap inside these fresh plants causes a special substance called honeydew to form inside the aphid's body, and ants will milk an aphid by rubbing the ant's back with its antenna, and the honeydew squeezes out of the aphid's abdomen, and they get this honeydew. In God's incredible creation, not only have some ants been designed to be shepherds, others have been designed to be farmers. Leafcutter ants cut up leaves and bring them back to the colony. The leaves are then cleaned. Remember, ants are very clean, and they're chewed up into little bits. Those little bits of leaves are piled together and mixed with ant droppings, feces. And this mixture is perfect for a particular kind of fungus which grows on the mixture. And the ants tend their fungus farm, keeping it free of anything else except the fungus, and they eat the fungus for food. That's amazing. Okay, so that's all about ants. That was mostly for Thomas or for review for Noah. Noah, I do expect you to read about the ants up to page 169. Good job.